at least our conversation coming up. The championship, the rounds are underway. First round today, so we'll get to that a little bit later on. But Sweet Tea, how are you, my friend?
Good. We were talking before we came on live that tonight is going to be one we can talk about, this game that we can talk about for a little bit, for a while. But yeah, there's a lot going on right now. Week 2 right around the corner, Kauf. So all things are pointing up.
There you go. Well, this is, of course, remember, you DraftKings fans, a millionaire contest available to you in the DK lobby tonight. You want to chase that million or even more than that in prizes, $2.5 million in prizes. Go for it. We encourage that you do, obviously. $15 to enter. We'll give you the ins and outs of the showdown tonight. We can talk not only DFS, but sports betting on the DK Sportsbook as well. There's lots to get into here. Would you, I'll defer to you, my friend. Would you rather start daily fantasy or would you like to go DK Sportsbook first?
Let's go DFS. Let's go showdown.
Okay. All right, let's do that. Again, $2.5 million in prizes for the Thursday Night Millionaire, $1 million to first place. And this is an interesting matchup, Reid. Washington and New York, both these teams coming off losses. Daniel Jones, I might mention, has never lost to Washington in his very young career. As a matter of fact, the Giants going for their 6th straight win over the Washington football team over the years here. But neither team is obviously at full health. You know, for Washington, you've got Taylor Heineke in their quarterback, no Ryan Fitzpatrick. Heineke, though, did look very good against the Chargers last week when he came on in relief. Antonio Gibson seems to be okay after getting a little bit banged up in that contest. He's certainly full go over there on the Giants side. There's still no Evan Ingram. Meanwhile, Saquon Barkley got very low usage in week 1, possibly a similar looking load tonight with respect to, that Washington defense, which is, expected to be very, very good over the course of this season, start to finish. And so I guess there isn't that clear cut, no doubt about it. I absolutely have to captain this guy. I'm sure Heineke, Jones, Gibson, these are going to be the most popular, the chalkiest ones, but who do you like?
Yeah. I think when you're looking at a showdown like this, if you want to take down the Millie, you obviously, this is not, I'm not breaking any hot news here, hot takes, is you have to be different, right, than how most people are going to think, right? So the overarching narrative is that Giants are bad and Washington is still relatively good, right? They're still relatively good with Taylor Heineke. Or Taylor Heineke, excuse me. But is it Tyler? No, it's Taylor.
No, Taylor.
Taylor. Yeah, Taylor. Yeah. I was like, is that? But anyway, I digress.
He should be more popular for what he's done. Sure. Playoff start last year, comes in, relieves Fitzpatrick well in week 1. Got to put some respect on that guy.
Right. But I do think, though, that if you want to take a look at this game in a little contrarian manner, it's trying to get one of these wide receiver ones as your captain in a low-scoring game, right? Because everyone's going to say Antonio Gibson, pair him with Washington football team's defense, get, the Daniel Jones not passing over a ton, get him to turn over the ball. Saquon Barkley is at, you're hearing it all the time. You're hearing that he's not going to be at full health against this team. He's at best a flex. And so I do like going after the wide receiver one, a guy like Terry McLaurin, a guy like Sterling Shepard, who is going to get a lot of run in this game, right? Taylor Heineke, is someone that's going to try and get the ball downfield to his receivers and can, not as much as, I would love Terry McLaurin if Ryan Fitzpatrick were in, because he just hones in on his wide receiver ones. But still, you take a look at what McLaurin has done against New York, it's been solid. So I love McLaurin at 13-5 in the captain spot if you want to be a little bit contrarian. And also, too, if you take a look at another pass catcher in Logan Thomas, he can get you that touchdown upside. The over-under, right, is not that much. It's 40.5. So you need to probably get a touchdown to see the optimal captain spot for Logan Thomas be one that does get you in the monies. But I do like going after these wide receiver ones a little bit more in the captain to be contrarian. If not Antonio Gibson, right, if you're playing in cash or double ups or 50-50s, Logan Thomas is an absolute stud. I'm not too worried about this New York Giants defense. But if I'm going a little contrarian, I want to go with those wide receivers. If not, I think both of these quarterbacks are in play as well. We've seen Daniel Jones get work done with his feet. Now he might get the turf monster and might fall 20 yards before the end zone with no one in front of him.
That couldn't happen.
But we've seen both of these guys use their legs and use them well. So I'm not opposed to getting the quarterbacks as well.
Do you know a Tyler Heineke in your personal life? Is that where this comes from?
I feel like what was the Florida State quarterback who was like 28 years old in college? What was his name?
I'll look it up. I'm just going to Google Tyler Heineke.
I'm Tyler Hero. I know that, but that's not close.
Yeah.
Hank, what was his name? I can see his face. He was like balding.
Still Taylor. The Taylor all over the place.
Anyway.
That's
there might be. I don't know.
So there was a Tyler Heineke who played quarterback for Old Dominion.
So that's him. That's
Taylor?
Yeah. I think it is. So Tyler. Yeah, I don't know.
What's wrong. This is what's wrong with Google sometimes. All right. So
yeah. It's Taylor, but
I know. But what I'm saying is I'm looking at all this. Why I'm looking over here on my other screen. I'm seeing all that. I Google Tyler Heineke just for giggles, right? And it says including results for Taylor, obviously. So it's Taylor Heineke stats, Taylor Heineke Wikipedia. Where did Taylor Heineke come from? What's Taylor Heineke's salary? And then under the people always ask, who is Tyler Heineke? Okay, Tyler. And so I look at it. It says Tyler Heineke is a product of Old Dominion. No, that's Taylor. So why are we doing that, Google? Why are we trying to fool people?
You trust in it, man. You're trusting the old Google machine. No, Taylor Heineke is still a play. Moving on.
All right, fine. He was very good. Can you, other than differentiation's sake, because obviously you can make the very easy argument with regard to a showdown and such a big slate and so many people entering a GPP contest. Like, I'm sure you won't tell me for cash games, like fade the quarterbacks. Of course, you want to, in a showdown, play both those QBs. But in a showdown with so many people entering, could you make a good argument to fade both the QBs and really load up on the pass catching targets and, obviously Gibson and if you believe Barkley is going to break one off and be okay?
Yeah, I mean, if you think this is going to be like a preseason game, right? Like if you think both these quarterback, you think it's going to be like a 14-6 type of game.
Yeah, like right? Maybe you want to get both DSTs in there. You think it's just going to be such a low scoring game?
Yeah, no, I think you have a valid point there, right? Is if you think of it that way, then yes. But at the same time, right? Like it's both of these teams do have like the Washington football team can score on their own, right? They can score. They can create turnovers on their own and they can put up points. And it's not the reason why you want to potentially go contrarian in that manner is that you feel like both of these offenses are going to be absolutely zeros. And I don't think that's going to be the case because you have players here that can produce. You have players that can produce against both sides of the ball. Look, Saquon Barkley at 75% or whatever he is, if he's on a pitch count, he could go off this tonight, right? And if that's the case,
touches last week, by the way.
Yeah. So if let's say he gets 16 or 18 touches, right? That's an increase, right, of 30% of his touches.
Yeah.
But still, like 18 touches for Saquon Barkley is solid. Now, Washington football team, their defense is fast, strong. So it's harder to project that. But again, like this is about trying to be contrarian and building a narrative, not just to be different. Because if you're different, then you could be 100% wrong. Yeah, that's definitely there. But how can you be different enough with still staying within the confines of what we can envision this game being like, right? 40.5 points. If you take a look at these teams, like let's say like the over and under, like the game total is 45-46, right? Like that's still like both teams getting into the 20s potentially.
It's 41,
right?
By the way.
Right, and the spread is essentially a pick'em, right? It's Washington getting 3.5. So. Like 23 to 20, right? 22 to 20. Both of these teams can get there. And if that's the case, like you have to bank on the DSTs scoring a touchdown if you want to put both DSTs in your lineup, right? That's the stuff that, if that's the case, that you have to project. And that's, in terms of probability, a lot less than someone like Sterling Shepard going off again, someone like, Terry McLaurin or Logan Thomas going off again, someone like Saquon Barkley, Antonio Gibson. So a little bit less of what you were saying, but I get where your mind's at of, hey, this is a low scoring game. Why not treat it like a preseason game?
So we are taking a look at questions in the chat. So by all means, YouTube, Twitch, wherever you're finding us, get those questions in. Our guy Eamon producing is on He's zeroed in, laser focused, trying to come up with those from us or for us from you. Brian C. hitting that like button as he so often does. Do I play Barkley since everyone seems to be fading him? Again, it goes back to everything Reid was just talking about, whether you believe that he's going to have himself a good night. I guess what I wonder is, where would you, if you're able to, where would you project that Barkley's ownership is going to be? Because normally it would be very, very high. It'd be astronomical. It'd be in the 80s, 90s, if we were dealing with a Saquon coming off a good week in perfect health. In reality, do you think he could be the, I don't know, 35 to 45% owned, something like that?
No. And again, when you're seeing these percentages, it's, you have to, with context, right? If we're talking about the Millie Maker, like 30% is astronomical, right? It's a lot.
Good point.
I know you're still set in Simland where like 90% Ross percentage is something that happens.
Yeah. You know what it is? I'm adding up flex and captain when I say that.
Got it.
That's how I'm looking at it. But I wonder if I'm going to see him. It's at around like, I don't know, 30 something percent,
right,
in the flex, but captained at 5%.
Got it. So for captain, because that's I thought where you were going, that's an astronomical amount. And captain, I got him projecting around 10 to 11%.
Okay.
Right. Like
still higher than I would have thought, given what people.
Because I think a lot of people are thinking the same way. I forget who asked that question. Brian, yeah, it's the same. A lot of people are thinking the way Brian is, like, hey, everyone's fading talent. Don't fade talent. Start your studs, right? That narrative. And also, too, guys, think about it this way. We're still 2 weeks, 3 weeks, about a month removed from your season-long fantasy drafts, and it makes a difference, right? When someone picks a Saquon Barkley with their 9th overall pick or in the first round, there's still that person that thinks, okay, this is a first-round pick in season-long. That means he's got to be good. On the DFS side, that's not usually the case, right? That's not usually the case. You want to potentially fade that type of sentiment. But in the flex, Kauf, I think you're right. Seeing a Saquon Barkley in the flex, I got him between 40 and 50% in the flex. I think a lot of people are going to look at this matchup and think, man, this guy's talented. I'm going to side with talent because where else am I going to side with than him or like the Antonio Gibsons of the world, right? Like, yeah, I got Antonio Gibson between like 55 and 60% in the flex. So if people want to fade that and go with someone who still has got a lot of talent, then yeah, I think Saquon Barkley is going to be there. I don't think you're going to be contrarian because too contrarian. I still think almost half of the lineups are going to have Saquon in it in the flex spot.
Yeah, I just wonder, and I'll be really curious to see what it looks like, obviously, in the millionaire contest or smaller contests for that matter as well. If we get people that are aiming for more of a high floor situation, like if you believe Saquon is going to look somewhat similar to what he did last week when he was, basically a non-factor, certainly not anywhere near worth his salary. If you also believe that the favorite, that Washington is the better team that is going to win, if we're going to see, and just to add to that too, and I'm rambling on, but Daniel Jones is going to be having to pass more, and let's say Saquon is not in his sights. If we're going to see lineups that are more built around, all right, well, Daniel Jones is going to be playing from behind. He's going to be throwing the ball. Sterling Shepard was his top target last week. He's affordable. That's the guy that we're going to get in there. That's our giant side. Gibson, you have to have. We believe in Heineke. There are your QBs, and then from there, you're looking at your potential value situations, and you're just, erring on the side of Washington with a little bit, a sprinkle, no sprinkler pun intended, a sprinkle of the Giants. And there's no room for Saquon at that point.
Yeah. Like, I don't think you have to play Saquon to get the optimal lineup, right? Like you can, but like,
what's the point, right? Like, if he's not going to be in the optimal lineup, I don't want him in my lineup.
Here's the thing too that you think about is, again, thinking differently, right? What about, and this is kind of going back to the Madden Sims, coincidentally, is like, what about rostering a backfield, right? Like last year we saw
like
Antonio Gibson. Yeah, we saw that. But on the other side, right, on the New York side, like Devonta Booker and Saquon Barkley, like that could, like, we could potentially see more of this, especially with the Giants early on, what we saw in Detroit. Maybe not necessarily as pass heavy and PPR heavy, right? But what, like, that could easily be the case, is that you get that backfield, so you're not worried. I know you're bifurcating a little bit. You're not just trying to get one, but I don't think it's going to be that, right? I don't think it's going to be just one running back. And then looking elsewhere and trying to get these quarterbacks in, like, that's something also as well, right? That you can have both of these running backs, like, so, and that's another point too, right? Is that being contrarian is not only fading the public. It's not only fading guys or playing guys because it's opposite of what they're going to do. It's playing like both running backs, right? Or playing multiple tight ends on the classic main slate, putting a tight end in your flex. And so you're double tight ending, you know, that's something also that can get you contrarian off the field in terms of different roster moves. So like Devontae Booker, they brought him in for a reason, because they knew Saquon early in the season when it was going to be like this. And Booker, he's not Saquon. No one is. But he has a build, and we've seen Booker be successful in other places like Denver. When like Las Vegas used him last year, the year before, maybe not as much as their other players, right? Because they had 4 or 5, the Raiders we're talking about, had four running backs that were active and suited up every game. But getting someone like him in a lineup, that's going to be along with Saquon, right? Because the correlation between those two usually doesn't work out. But what if they both get a touchdown, right? That's the kind of stuff that you have to think about when you're looking at this type of game where you're not going to see a lot of points. How then do you sequester an entire backfield and make sure that you're getting all the points from the Giants backfield?
I'm curious, and we'll get to the DK Sportsbook side of things as well. But a guy that you were talking about earlier, I want to go back to, because he's just, to me, he's a fascinating option. He's a fascinating target, and that's Logan Thomas. Now, he was only targeted 3 times last week. He had 3 catches. He had a touchdown. He salvaged his day with that score. Knowing what New York has been against tight ends, for one, and also that there's a chemistry there. Maybe it's not over the top. Maybe it's not McLaurin level, but there is certainly a chemistry between Heineke and Thomas. He's the one that had the touchdown from Heineke.
Yeah.
Do we feel like he's going to find the end zone again? Do we feel like he is, you know, a safer floor kind of guy, and certainly a high ceiling guy for DFS lineups tonight? And that applies to, you know, again, daily or season long.
Yeah, I mean, Logan Thomas is, he's getting to that point where we have to start considering him as one of the better tight ends in the NFL, right? Like the metrics, the size, the athleticism, as playing as a quarterback in college. Looks like he can be quarterback proof. Look what he did last year, right? Doesn't matter who's back there. They're going to look at that 6'8" frame of his, whatever he is, and they're going to throw it to him because his catch radius is unbelievable. Now, Adam Humphries is in Washington playing a ton out of the slot. You still have Terry McLaurin, like Curtis Samuel's not there. De'Ami Brown is taking over for Curtis Samuel in his absence. But like, you know, the target tree like is McLaurin, Logan Thomas, Antonio Gibson, right? That's what you have. So if you're projecting a guy like Heineke to throw it Taylor, throw it, 35 times, let's say, maybe less, right? 32 times. Could you envision 10 of those targets going to Logan Thomas? Yeah, like that's feasible to see 10 or 8 targets going to Logan Thomas. And if that's the case, then that's not elite. Like that's not Darren Waller, but that's pretty good for a tight end. Now in this matchup though, Kauf, what you have to do in these these showdown slates is how many people are going to think the same thing, the same exact thing. You saw a touchdown last week from him. They're going to think the same thing. I don't mind it, but what you said right before you tossed the question to me is that he's a safe floor guy, right? Because of that. Is the ceiling there? That's what you need in these games. In these one-game showdowns, you need the ceiling. You got to play for the ceiling. And I don't know if Logan Thomas exactly does it for me in the captain spot to get to that ceiling. Sure. That's why I want these wide receiver ones that can go for like 5 catches, 120 yards, 3 catches, 120 yards, and a touchdown or 2. Right. That's what you want in these games is the high ceiling. And Logan Thomas, especially with Heineke and not YOLO quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick, is potential, like in my mind for this game, might not get there. I still think he's a solid play. Maybe not in my captain spot.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, and Eamon, clip it if I'm right. I never said it if I'm wrong. I'm not even saying that I'm going to roster him. I'm just not sure yet. I got to make my lineups, and we're a few hours out from game time still. But if you tell me, like, if we're talking tomorrow morning or post game, and I'm looking at the box score or whatever, watching in real time, and Logan Thomas has 2 touchdowns and 50 yards or something like that tonight on 5 catches. I'm not going to be surprised at all. Just feels like one of those games where Logan Thomas is going to find the back of the end zone a couple of times. I don't know why. And I don't know if I can full on convince myself he'll do it to the point where I play him based around other, appealing things within this matchup. But I just wouldn't be surprised by it at all. If I had to pick one guy that scores multiple touchdowns in this game, it's Logan Thomas.
Yeah. I mean, that's not, you're not wrong. I mean, Heineke can actually, he can have a rushing touchdown. Sure. He can have a passing touchdown. So even on the sportsbook side, if we go there, getting a Tyler, getting him a anytime touchdown. Like we've seen Heineke run the ball, especially in the end, towards, in the red zone.
Yeah.
So getting him
plus 300 for an anytime score. Yeah.
And that's fairly short for a quarterback, right? So, first score at plus 1,800, so much is going to be focused on Antonio Gibson, right? He's a bell cow. We know that. So much is going to be focused on Logan Thomas. So everything, right, when you think about it, focus is going to be between the hashes for these guys, this defense. It's because stop 82, watch, spy Heineke, watch for number 17, but we have that with Bradbury or the other cornerback, which I think is going to be on McLaurin a little bit more. And then, I could easily see, Heineke, who's got speed, get that touchdown. So he's someone that I'm fairly interested in, and someone that could get you multiple scores. But I know from a pass catcher point of view, I can definitely see it. I think Sterling Shepard too is someone that you have to keep your eye on for multiple touchdowns.
Plus 200 for an anytime score for him, for those looking on the screen and seeing what we're seeing. Whether it's a guy that you like for, I don't know, a bet tonight, I don't know that, it necessarily appeals to you as a touchdown threat. Maybe there's another prop that's more appealing. You mentioned it before, though, Diami Brown. Is he just the best possible value you could find tonight on that slate?
He's a speedster, man. He's someone that can get you down the field.
4 times last week. He's super cheap.
Yeah. He $2,100 in the captain spot.
Yeah, 1,400 in the flex.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem is he had 1 catch last week for -2 yards, but he was targeted 4 times.
Yeah, I don't mind Booker. Like I mentioned, I think Booker is someone that, I'm interested in. Just because, I think that if that's the case, if we're talking about, Saquon Barkley being someone that we don't necessarily know about, Booker could get you that touchdown right at 2,800. That's 3x value right there, just with the touchdown. So he's someone, the other guys, probably not, other than Diami Brown. But again, Diami Brown is, I think, a guy that most people are going to think of as a value. So then he becomes a chalky value play, and those are the worst, right? If you're going to eat chalk, you want to eat chalk at the top.
Unique chalk.
Yes, if you're going to do that, you got to do it from the top, man. And honestly, too, Adam Humphries, I think is being is going a little bit unnoticed. He only had 2 targets, 2 receptions last game, but that was something that
played
was an anomaly.
Snaps though.
Yeah, so he's someone that I'm interested in, right? He didn't have a lot of nothing. None of the metrics point to Adam Humphries, but that's the reason why on these 1-game slates that I like him, right? Is that the metrics don't point to him, so most people are just going to scroll over him and be like, you know what, $4,800, I can go to Diami Brown. I can go to other guys that are going to get more run, J.D. McKissick potentially, but I think Adam Humphries is someone to take a look at as well.
All right, let's go to the sportsbook side because we've only kind of touched on that a little bit. See, I told you we could talk a lot about this game. $1 million on the line in DFS. You have to. Man. But sportsbook, like we said, over-unders 41, spreads 3.5. Giants are the dogs, despite, actually, they're on the road. So Washington, the home favorite. Like you said, it's basically a pick 'em with the home team getting the points. Is there a particular bet other than maybe Heineke in the anytime touchdown that we talked about before? Is there a particular bet or prop or line or whatever it may be on the DK Sportsbook that appeals to you tonight?
Other than the Heineke stuff, I think McLaurin is someone that you have to take a look at. I mean, where else are you going to go, right, other than Logan Thomas? And I think it's easier to stop someone like a Logan Thomas as opposed to a Terry McLaurin. So I don't mind that. Both of these teams, 0-1 ATS, right? They did not play well in their previous games at all. Did New York hit their over? Did the Denver New York game hit over last week? If I can't remember, but one thing that you have to take notice of, and I forget where I heard this, so I can't claim this stat as my own, is that the two teams that hit the unders the week previous in like 60%, just based on numbers, not based on anything else, variables not included. They hit the over in 60% of their games the following week. Right. So it's like when you look at these markets, and any market for that matter, money, crypto, anything, right? DFS, ownership, over under. It's all emotion based. Markets are emotion based. And so what you're taking a look at with this number is that, yes, Washington. So thank you, Bruce and Drew. Like Denver and New York was under 41. So this applies. It's an emotional game. So when you take a look at this 41 over under, most people are going to think, God, these teams, there's no way they can go over. And while that might be true, look at what the value is on this number for this over, right? The over is minus 105. That's what you also have to take a look at, too. If you want to take the under, it's minus 115. You have to lay the juice at minus 115. But at minus 105, taking the under, and it's low, right? 41 is low. Or excuse me, the over. If you want to take the under, that's low. And that's going to be my point, right? Is that taking the over at 41 is at minus 105. So the value is there. You're going to have to be on pins and needles this entire game, right? But I think there's value on the over based off of the emotion. And you're kind of seeing now that number move to that, right? Like it was 40 and a half. Now it's going to 41. I think smart money and late money is coming in on the over because of that.
All right. Get your questions in, by the way, before we do get out of here in 10 or 15 minutes. Meager, you love the chalk. Unique the chalk. You need unique the chalk. Have to.
It's true, man.
Jimmy, thank you. CEH, everybody. Appreciate everyone being with us. A lot of popular, familiar names in there watching. Hit the like just for old time's sake, huh? Hit the like, hit the subscribe button on the DK YouTube page. We appreciate you. If you're watching on Twitch, give us a follow there, twitch.tv/DraftKings. Would you like to, for a few moments, take a look at week 2 on the whole?
Sure. Let's do it.
Why not? We're here. Let's do that. So main slate on Sunday, and we got the DK Sportsbook up here. And let's see. Oh, we have one question about tonight. First time playing Fortnite. I don't want to miss. Thoughts on Antonio Gibson over 15.5 rushing attempts?
Ooh.
I tell you, last week he was at 20, and that was banged up against the Chargers in the process.
Yeah, that one's interesting. Like if you like, and so here's how you correlate. Right, here's how I'm thinking about it. Just I'll think out loud. If you think this is going to go under, then yeah, I think 15.5 is a nice spot. Like it depends. I'm just checking right here what you would have to lay for his 15.5 receptions, rush attempts here. Yeah, minus 140. So you have to lay minus 140. So for me personally, I think the over is going to be there. And look, he can still hit this number and the total go over, right? Because he's a bell cow type of running back. But laying the 140 is a little shaky for me. Because when I look at this, I'll be like, okay, if I'm going to lay the 140 here, like, can I find value somewhere else, right? Like laying the 105 on the over. Like, I feel less confident about Antonio Gibson over 15.5 laying this one. Like, I feel less inclined to lay 140, right? As opposed to laying 105 and trying to hit that over. Can he make it? Absolutely. But you got to lay some heavy juice for him to do that. Right. So I'd rather try and get closer to even money and lay that 105 for the over. But like Antonio Gibson's great. Like I said on our Wednesday show, Kauf, that if you can go out and try and get Antonio Gibson, which you probably can't in season long, do it. Because this guy is, especially with Fitzpatrick out, this guy is going to be a bell cow. And he's great. The burst is great. The vision is great. And they're going to use him quite a bit. Right. They're going to use him quite a bit in this offense. So I really, really like him. I just don't like that laying 140.
I got him in one of my teams, Reid. You just gotta
give him to me.
I don't know what the people are gonna need to trade for him. Some of the bigger spreads in week 2. You've got the Browns against the Texans at home, favored by 12.5. The Bucks are at home against the Falcons, same line. Looking ahead to Monday Night Football, Packers, who were just embarrassed by the Saints, are favored by 11.5 in Green Bay against Detroit. So those are some of the larger numbers. Who do you think is most likely to cover from that group?
Detroit, or not Detroit, excuse me, Green Bay. Detroit is like, I'm scared of Detroit. I love like DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams in DFS and Showdown. They can easily both be played in a lineup, like we were talking about with Devontae Booker and Saquon Barkley. But I think even at 11.5, the start of this opened the week at 10.5, and it's already moved up to 11.5. I think this is closer to a 2-touchdown game. Like, I just can't envision that, especially in this matchup at Lambeau Field, what happened. And this is a narrative that's going to be replayed time and time again, that the Packers are going to scorch the earth with the Lions. Jeff Okudah is out, right? He's got an Achilles injury. He's out for the season. And I cannot see Green Bay not hanging up 30 on these guys. Like, can Detroit do a backdoor cover again? I think it's less likely. But
line on that one, by the way, is 48.5. So even if you're expecting Green Bay to go for 30, you're still expecting Detroit to score quite a bit as well.
Yeah, like they can, right? Like they showed that they can score in garbage time, which is fine. But like, again, play all your Packers. I think the Packers are the ones that could cover this huge number out of the ones that we see in double digits this week.
What about another game in general? I don't want to give you parameters. Is there another game in general that you're most intrigued by on this slate?
Yeah. Arizona at home, given 4 to the Vikings. This line has moved. I think it was 3.5 or closer to that. I'm not sold on Minnesota, Koff. I think Mike Zimmer is, a coach that as a coordinator, he's great. I think as a defensive coordinator, but I think his time is running out in Minnesota. This defense it struggles. Look, Cincinnati, I like them last week against Minnesota. Like, they pulled out a win that, right, like, it remains to be seen on what Cincinnati is going to be. Like, I love Jamar Chase. I think a lot of it was like a lot of the preseason like hoopla around him was like unwarranted. So if you bought the dip on Jamar Chase, good for you and good on you. I did as well. But I think the Cardinals and Kyler Murray right now with what they're doing, and if Chandler Jones and JJ Watt can, rewind the clock to what they were doing 5 years ago, and Chandler Jones is doing it right now.
A good start.
Yeah, like, that's going to be amazing. Like, they have a good core of veterans on defense mixed with young guys on all levels of the ball on defense. And when you have Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, I think AJ Green is a nice inside piece. Rondale Moore, they got speed. I think their backfield is great with Chase Edmonds and James Conner. I think this team at -4 against Minnesota at home, I like the Cardinals quite a bit here.
Let's see here. In the interest of time, because we've got a few more minutes, and I want to make sure that we fulfill what we advertise, which is this is the All Sports Show on Thursdays, that we do a little bit of everything as well. Golf, the Fortinet Championship is going on here. Round 1 is it completely over at this point?
No, not yet. It's on the West Coast.
Yes,
so.
Yeah. Some guys are still going. In fact, let's see, Troy Merritt is through 10, and he is 2 shots off the lead right now. So
there you go.
He's doing very, very well. But Chez Reavie is in front right now by 1 stroke. Cameron Tringale is next. You got Adam Hadwin tied for second as well. So what do you like so far? I know you've been glued to your television watching this thing.
Yeah. Cameron Tringale. You got to pronounce that last.
Nope.
Yeah.
Tringale.
Yeah. Tringale. But I knew you were going to say Tringale. I knew it.
Good.
No, look, Chez is great. Chez has been hitting it well.
What's the line on that? What were the odds on the DK Sports?
Oh, -1,000. -1,000 for the Tringale.
Easy piece of cake.
Yeah, those names that you have to pronounce the vowels that really gets you. But
yeah.
Look, a guy that Jeff liked actually, he was talking about it yesterday on the show. Patrick Rogers, he's number 1 in approach, 36 off the tee right now. He's at 4 under, in 8th place. That's a pretty good spot. Chez Reavie, though, hit his irons really well, putted really, really well. 5th today in putting. And when you can do that, Koff, when you can hit your irons well, which is I think what I wrote in my article, like you can hit your irons well and you can make putts, you're usually going to be someone, this is not rocket science, you're going to be someone who's going to be at the top of the leaderboard. What we've seen, though, and this is also what I wrote up in my article, is that we've seen 5 of the last 7 winners come from behind after day 1, right? A lot of these guys, they can come from behind 5 back because this course, you can go extremely low. 4 par 5s, it's a short course, 7,100 yards, about 7,123 around there, I think. So you can see guys that can potentially go low who didn't putt necessarily well, like Ben Martin. I don't necessarily like Ben Martin, but he was the worst, the worst in the field in putting today, but he was 12th or 11th around there. Or no, he was 80th in putting. So half worst, and 11th in irons. So Siwoo Kim played really well today, hit his irons really, really well. Just couldn't putt. He's at 4 under. So look, like I wouldn't put any stock in the guy who's leading right now in Ches, that he's going to go, he's going to go and win this. But, I think minus 19, minus 20 is probably going to be the winning score. So guys that can shoot 5 or 6 under throughout the week, is going to win this.
I don't know if you have any faith in Troy Merritt. Again, red hot start on the front 9 to begin his tournament. But I mean, you can get him for plus 2,500 to win the tournament right now. Reeve is the favorite at plus 900 on the DK Sportsbook at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, but Merritt's putting really well. Like he's second, I think, in putting right now. Right, and look, he could easily fall back too. Right, he's only halfway through.
Right,
his round, 31st in approach right now. So yeah, like he could definitely do it. Right. So if you wanted to take that, but like I said, right, let the dust settle a little bit and look at these guys that are 3 or 4 back, maybe even more. Right, that just couldn't putt today, but hit the ball really well. And if I'm just looking at the stats here on guys who kind of fit that mold, Russell Knox was 28th in approach, but 143rd in putting. He's at 3 under through 18, so through his first round. Like he's someone you might want to take a look at. Sung Kang was 4th in approach and 141st in putting, and he's at 2 under right now. So he's 5 back of Ches. So he's someone that, when the odds maybe materialize, you want to take a look at. Right, that's what you want to take a look at, Kauf, is those guys who just did not putt well at all today and hit their irons really well. Pat Kazire was 35th, or is 35th, 132nd. I think he's still out there right now. So those are the guys that I'm taking a look at if you want to make outrights after day 1.
Kang is plus 40,000 at this moment.
Take a flyer, man. Take a flyer. Like the average odds of like the last 5 winners here, 8 winners, is like 100 to 1. Like plus 10,000. Like Stuart Sink was 40,000, right? He was 400 to 1, depending on where you place your bets. If it's in the US, he's plus 40,000. So like this tournament can do that for a lot of players. And so you don't have to chase the top to make money here and to make a profit. You can take some of these deeper shots who can absolutely come out tomorrow with soft conditions, make their putts and be up there. And you get, like, if you get Sung Kang at plus 40,000 and you see him, he finishes around at 9 under. And then the leaders after day 2 are at 12, right? He's only 3 back. So that's something you have to take a look at and think about when you're placing outrights after day 1.
What are you thinking about, if you're thinking about it, when it comes to live betting? If you're going hole by hole, what appeals to you for anyone thinking about it out there?
Well, you got to watch it. So you can't just be blindly betting. If you want to, you can. You could. But Hudson Swafford is someone that I liked. I liked pre-tournament going against Hideki Matsuyama. Look, you can do it. I would suggest, watch these guys, right? Because you want to see where their second shot is coming from. You want to see where they're hitting their approach shot from, or if they're going to the bunker, what their putt is like, if they're above the hole and it's harder to make a putt, if they're below, right? If they're 20 feet below the hole, that's an easier putt for pros than a 50 or like a 10-foot putt above the hole, because they can't be as aggressive. So those are the kind of stuff that I'm taking a look at, as opposed to just the stats or, Hideki's better than Swafford, right? Like you can't just take a look at that. You got to take a look at where these guys are playing from.
Kyle in the chat, our friend, says he got an 82 on his stats test. Nice work, Kyle. Glad you're still checking in, giving us those updates. CEH, how about this for old time's sake? CEH, Buy, stream, trash, Saquon Barkley, and the 2 quarterbacks tonight. Who are you most comfortable with? Who are you taking the flyer on, and who are you fading?
That's a good one.
It is a good one.
I'll buy Taylor.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift.
Sure. Tyler Heineke.
I will. Oh, for showdown specifically, I would probably, and I'm going captain. I'll go buy, stream both of the quarterbacks. I'll probably trash.
I guess it would be captain flex fade, right? That's what it is for all intents and purposes here.
Yeah. So I would do. Oh, okay. If that's the case, this is a good one because I can see arguments for putting Saquon the captain. You know what? I will captain Taylor. I will flex Saquon, and I'll fade Daniel Jones.
All right. I'm going to reverse your last two. I'm fading Saquon tonight.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing. Eamon said about 5 minutes left, boys. I thought we were wrapping up. I thought we were done. Good. We can keep going. That's fine. More time for us. And with all
main slate.
And with all the people. Yeah, we can talk a little bit more about the main slate. Get off of the golf, go back to the main event. You want to do main slate DFS or main slate on the sports book some more?
Yeah, let's go DFS.
All right, let's do it. Open up a contest so we can see what the salaries are looking like, obviously.
Yeah, we got the credentials here. Oh, dang. Did I
log out inadvertently?
You might have logged out. Okay, well, I can do it here.
All right.
Not screen share, but
that's okay.
Unless
do
we want to, producer boys?
That would just make things overly complicated.
What? Anyway, Kaufman's having issues here.
Yeah,
he's having a bunch of issues.
Where it went. That's okay.
Here's the thing. Here's what I want to talk about.
I'll re-log in. How about that?
Yeah. So on the main slate here, I think there are some games that could be potential shootouts more so. And I think, this is not going to be something that people aren't going to go towards. But like we talked about yesterday, Arizona and that Minnesota game, and even earlier in the show, I think is a place that I want to focus on a lot. We know that Kirk Cousins can perform admirably in garbage time. We've seen it before.
I have it. We can show it to the people. Go on.
Right. Good. We saw it last week. And so I do think that Arizona game and Minnesota game is something that, because we had a few games that are in the mid 50s in terms of game total, right? So I'm trying to go towards that game a little bit more. It was similar with that Seattle Indy game where I thought was going to be a shootout on the Seattle side, and it actually came to fruition. That's something I'm taking a look at. I also think New England and that new New York Jets game, I think that game is going to go over their total, because I do think that Zach Wilson against Belichick might be a little bit tough. Patriots defense definitely in play, but for running backs, I'm jumping all over the place here.
Yeah.
But for running backs, I think.
Which column would you like me in?
Running backs.
I'll look at the RBs. Yeah, go for it.
I think Nick Chubb is someone that you have to take a look at this week. $7,800. He's a 12.5 point favorite. His splits when the Cleveland Browns are double-digit favorites, like in terms of fantasy points, when they're not, is astronomical. It's like 20. He's averaging like 20 DK fantasy points around there, as opposed to not. As opposed to like maybe 10 or 12. I think he's definitely viable in this matchup. I think Houston is going to be in for a long, long day. I think Nick Chubb, even Kareem Hunt, if you wanted to as well, like he can get RB2 garbage time numbers, flex numbers, but I really, really like Nick Chubb at $7,800 this week. I think Najee Harris at $6,300 is definitely in play. 21 total touches for the running backs in Baltimore against the Raiders on Monday night. The Raiders have to travel to Pittsburgh after playing in overtime on Monday night, so the Steelers have that rest advantage. I think that's viable as well. And that's, you can start going a little bit lower in price range for running backs. I'd rather pay down at wide receiver this week as opposed to running backs. I think Tim Patrick, $4,600 is someone against Jacksonville. You can definitely play on the wide receiver mark. He's at $4,600. I still think Jamar Chase is mispriced at $5,000. Like, I think he's going to be more popular than he was first week. But I still like Jamar Chase quite a bit. I'm not convinced about Chicago's
a couple
defense.
of guys? You had mentioned Tim Patrick, a couple of guys in a very similar price point. Jameson Crowder is eligible to play this weekend as things stand right now. That could change, but he's off the COVID list anyway, and he's $4,500. Or a guy who, a couple of guys that I don't know if it was fluky or if it was just a good first game, but Zach Pascal, $4,400, did real well with T.Y. Hilton out that first game for the Colts. Some people, at least maybe it's more of a season-long, waiver wire pickup kind of play, but people are, in on Mooney a little bit this week at $4,200. What do you think of these guys?
Yeah, I don't mind it. You don't want to get too much of these guys in your lineup.
No.
Right? When I take a look at maybe from a PPR standpoint, I think Cole Beasley, I'm looking at Cole Beasley against Miami. When you look at what Allen has done against Miami in his splits, especially last year, I mean, he put up a ton of points. Cole Beasley
10 times last week.
Yeah, he's priced at $4,600 in the main slate.
Yeah,
13 targets. Are you kidding me? So he's someone that I want to take a look at. Jalen Waddle, Will Fuller is back, so I'm scared about Jalen Waddle. He's I think $4,500, so $100 cheaper. Cole Beasley is probably a guy that I'm taking a look at in this range, more so than those other guys. Because we talk about Indy, Indy, right? Yes, against the Rams, they could a lot of garbage time, but Carson Wentz is I'm not convinced with Carson Wentz at all. I would lump him in a little bit like the Andy Dalton, a better Andy Dalton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the Chicago Bears were the only team not to attempt to pass over 15 yards last week. That's not great. It's not great. And so I'm a little bit worried about Carson Wentz.
Any before we do wrap up for real this time, any quick thoughts on tight ends? I guess just we don't need to go through DSTs, but tight ends.
Yeah, Tyler Higbee. I think he's viable. Absolutely, $4,100. We saw now with Gerald Everett out what he can do. Other than that, Rob Gronkowski at $4,700. Boy, oh boy, if he can get what he's doing week one, man. That's crazy. It's crazy talk.
How do you decide between it? A guy like Gronk at 4,700 who had 2 touchdowns and it was obviously a big part of the offense for Tampa. Brady's pinky once again, or your guy Darren Waller, who he's the most expensive guy and he's one of the best tight ends in the league, but he also was targeted 1,700 times last week. And if that happens every single week, I mean, we are on a record-setting pace right here.
Yeah, 1,687 I think was the official number. For Darren Waller. No, that's the moves you got to make, right? Look, Atlanta's defense is not great. So yes, but Gronk, that there's 5,000 other guys in that offense that could be the Gronk this week.
Sure.
AB, any of these guys could be. So that's the one thing I would argue against Gronk over Waller. Or excuse me, Waller over Gronk. But look at the price savings. It's almost $3,000 cheaper. So that's the risk that, that's the cost savings that you would potentially take because of that. If I'm going down though, like I mentioned, some of these guys, Tyler Higbee, if if Jonnu Smith is out, Hunter Henry is viable. Absolutely. Sure. Against the Jets, right? Dallas Goedert, if Ertz can't go, right? So things still have to sort of iron out first, but just early looks, I do like a guy like Tyler Higbee. That's maybe why I'm saying Tyler Higbee. Yeah,
that could be it. See,
no, it's not it. I'm just an idiot.
You don't need to get too cute. You don't need to get too fancy. Just give me the one guy. Don't even need an explanation. The one guy who you think is the best play of the game tonight.
Best play of the game, I will say Heineke.
Okay. He's going to be popular. I think it's probably after what I said earlier, I'm now inclined to say it's going to be Logan Thomas, and I'll probably end up fading him. He'll end up going off. Thank you to Eamon, of course, our producer Eamon, and Drew, our technical director, providing lots of great info and teasing us on the side as well. We're going to get these guys out of here because they have places to be, travel, and that sort of thing. We're going to go as well, though. Reid T. Fowler, Adam Kaufman. Remember, the slate comes your way Monday through Friday, about the same time every single day, which is right around 5:10, 5:15 Eastern. The sweat is Monday through Friday, 11 a.m., as well as on Sundays to get you ready for the main slate, Sunday Night Football, and so much more. So make sure you tune in for all that. Reid is all over the place. You can see him often throughout the week on those various programs and other side places as well. So thank you, Reid. It's been good hanging out with you as always.
All right, buddy.
All right. Sweet Tea, Kaufman. Thanks to all of you for watching. We'll catch you again tomorrow.